Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This is going to probably be a very interesting month. There are a number of things happening. I know that every month is weird and spectacular and fantastic, and there's always crazy things happening within the cryptocurrency space. But there's also a lot of news which you're going to see that a lot of people believe could potentially start moving the cryptocurrency market. For whatever reason, a lot of people are under the impression that July is going to be a monstrous month for the cryptocurrency space, and that if Bitcoin begins to move like analysts are expecting, the wider altcoin market will begin to move as well. You are going to see a very strong pattern, as I'm pretty sure that you've seen in the last 4 or 5 videos. I make sure that if I make my, my title something in a video, it corresponds to something that's actually in the video. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the clickbait, and I'm like, no, I make sure to show you in the video. This is how I know that people aren't clicking and they're only reading the title. It's because a lot of people do believe that these things are going to happen, and it is the news of that day. Therefore, it becomes the title of it. For those of you who are not looking at the screen, it says top reasons why Bitcoin's price might see a fresh rally in July. I'm seeing a lot of ideas and news that for some reason July is going to be like one of our best months over the course of this year. According to a recent tweet, report on chain by the company known as Santiment, there is a strong likelihood that Bitcoin's price will experience further growth this month, potentially followed by altcoins. The primary reason for this potential surge lies in the continued accumulation of Bitcoin by key crypto holders, including whales and sharks, who have been actively buying the flagship digital currency over the past few weeks. It's actually months at this point that we've had a large avalanche of news that while in general, whales, and I hate the term sharks because people keep adding in like guppies and fish and all these other things into the space. Rich people are actively buying Bitcoin. Huge amounts of it. This is no longer a discussion or people being like, oh, is it possibly happening? And I try in vain. I've tried 9,000 times. I think I'm just going to give up. Where I keep mentioning that these rich people are buying, and people will say, well, the prices are going down. And I'm like, you don't understand how a manipulated market works. They know how to move the price down. They know how to inject negative news for all of you to read, to be scared so that you sell your coins as quickly as possible. What was the news 2 or 3 days ago? Oh boy. It was, for those of you who missed it on Twitter, count your lucky stars. It was news that allegedly the US SEC found the applications by BlackRock to be inadequate, and therefore they had rejected the Bitcoin ETF. The moment that news came out, instead of people actually reading and trying to find information and doing research, everyone panicked and began to sell their coins, and Bitcoin fell, what was it, like 5, 6, or 7%? Like it was a very blatant drop. It fell down quite quickly. The news actually is that the SEC told BlackRock, and I believe another company, that they simply required more information, that the applications were inadequate because they wanted names of companies. One of the things that's happening right now is that BlackRock, Fidelity, and another, I think CBOE, they're using Coinbase as their custodian for the actual movement of the coins. But apparently in BlackRock's application, someone forgot to write the name Coinbase, and they simply wrote this will be done by a crypto exchange. The SEC wanted more information, and that's what happened. And based off of that news, everyone panicked, prices fell down, and then immediately the price went up about a good hour or two later, and the news that began to come out was, guess who bought? Yeah, whales bought once again, like they always do, and it keeps happening over and over and over. So continuing forward from all of that major news, Santiment says Bitcoin's whale and shark addresses have continued to accumulate. with a big chunk of BTC buying coming in the past 2 weeks as news of an ETF launch has come out. As long as key stakeholders continue buying, further crypto rises can be justified in July. Rich people have always been buying. It's just that they are very savvy and they know exactly how to manipulate other people from getting out of the market, from selling their coins and or panicking. You name it. We are going to get to a point, and it's going to be one of the saddest moments for a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space who had the chance to have larger positions in the crypto market, who've consistently just been selling their coins. I know a couple of people. I believed that they were more into the market than they actually let on. I found out that they've been slowly selling their coins because they don't expect the market to actually go back up. And then I found out that this is basically their first cycle. So they're at the point where they see prices so low, or where they currently are, and they simply don't understand that the prices will eventually move back up as we get to the halving and then after the halving. Just a very, very weird sentiment feeling flowing through the entire cryptocurrency space. And there's also the added... There's so many people who are new to a market. A lot of people don't understand what's happening right now with markets and prices. I see people who I talk to who the word's not refuse. They don't want to buy any real estate right now because they don't know if prices will go lower or if they'll ever go back up. And I want you to really understand that. We are 8 billion people on this planet. For those of you, any of you out there who are confused as to why property prices continue to rise, I've seen hundreds of documentaries and YouTube videos and people talking about it, asking people on the street, you name it. I've seen the entire facet of all of it. And they're asking people, why do they think property prices keep rising? And these people go, well, I don't know, but it could be a number of things. I think it's just simply that like people want the prices to go up. And I'm like, you realize that right now, think of everyone that you know. Think of like literally everyone you know and that you've seen on the street in the last couple of days. Like, think of that. All these people, except for those who happen to be less fortunate, have a roof over their heads. Over the course of the next 15 to 20 years, these people, some of them are going to have kids. Those kids will grow up and they'll also want their own place to live. That is another apartment, another house, another flat that needs to be built. Have you seen some cities already? The older historical places around Europe, they're not building on top of their old buildings that have been around for 300 or 400 years. All the new cities like New York, some of those buildings have like 90 floors. They're not going to make them 270. There's a finite amount of space. And I don't get how people don't think a step further. It is one of the mysteries of the world that people simply haven't come to understand why things are like. There is a finite amount of everything. That's why prices raise. That's why cryptocurrencies are. Anyway, also on top of that as well, for those of you not looking at the screen, it says Bitcoin price forecast. Crypto analyst predicts Bitcoin's explosive July surge. It says Bitcoin resistance at 31,000 as indicators suggest $80,000 by the end of this year. There are, and I do not hold my breath for any of these numbers. As we get closer to Bitcoin's halving, the price will go up as it has the other 4 times, because people, for some reason collectively, instead of accumulating when prices are lower, they see that the price is going up and then they get this FOMO and they go, oh snaps, I should have been buying the entire time. Let me buy right now. This happens every single time. When we have the halving, hear my words. Remember how I told you Ethereum's price was not going to collapse after they had staking. And I told you that there would not be millions of Ethereum hitting the market after staking was active. Hear me and hear me good. Bitcoin's price is going to rise. I cannot tell you if it's going to be $80,000 by the end of this year. Historically, Bitcoin is usually just around the previous all-time high. Usually below it. The previous all-time high was 70,000. I'm expecting us to get there by the time we get to Bitcoin's halving next year. 80,000 this year would be fantastic. Other coins would be skyrocketing, what have you. When Bitcoin's halving actually happens, you are going to see, and we are going to be discussing, there will be an avalanche of news talking about buy the news, sell the rumor, eat the news, whatever people need to tell themselves. They will tell you that the hype is gone from Bitcoin's price rising and the halving happening. Therefore, sell your coins because it's not worth it anymore. Bitcoin's price after every halving skyrockets. This is the same exact thing that has been happening for the last number of years, and I don't understand how the bad news works. I feel like, you know how like when you wake up in the morning and then like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry, let me go eat. But you've been doing this a good 20, 30, maybe 40 plus years. And like, it's just kind of, oh my gosh, my body needs to eat something. I am hungry. But we can get the same nonsensical news within the cryptocurrency space every single year, and people just keep falling for it all the time. I really don't understand. And this is, part of the reason why I have such annoyance the last couple of months. Even, like the last like year and a half, the news that we've been getting, like even starting with the Sam Bankman-Fried news. And I was like, what is everyone overreacting about? I don't understand. $80,000 by the end of the year. It looks unlikely. This is unless we hear from the SEC that they have finally approved a Bitcoin ETF. Let's see. July, August, September, October, November. Nope, I don't think so. Maybe September, October? Is that the normal time frame for when they should have actually announced that they're going to be allowing a Bitcoin ETF? I'm not 1,000% sure. That's one of the real only reasons. Following the hype train, it says Bitcoin may rise to $165,000 before November 2023. As you might have also imagined, this was also incredibly popular news. Why? Because the news doesn't make any sense. Bitcoin rising to $165,000 per coin it says before November. I'm going to use the word before November of this year. We need to have BlackRock, Fidelity, and the CBOE all having their physical Bitcoin ETF. That is literally the only way that could actually happen. Anything else is just complete nonsense, because usually as we get towards the end of the year, prices always fall. I'm not sure why. Maybe people are selling because they have to pay taxes next year, or simply because everyone's buying extremely large Christmas presents. But the end of the year is always a bit of a lull. By the time we passed by New Year's Day, things tend to, recover a slight bit as well. Bitcoin could become explosive in July, reminiscent to November 2020's setup. This was said by a crypto analyst. The idea of the 2020 setup, for those of you, anyone getting it? Yeah, because 2021 was the year after the halving, and that was the crazy year. For whatever reason, a lot of people believe that July is going to be this crazy month for crypto. I think the most conservative and realistic one that I saw was between a $35,000 and $38,000 Bitcoin. That seems relatively doable, especially if we... Nope, never mind. I was going to say especially if we keep getting good news, but good news has no actual effect on the cryptocurrency market anymore. Like, it literally does nothing. Even the news of BlackRock officially being in the space, these people are not filing a Bitcoin ETF because they're like, maybe we'll get it. They own Bitcoin. Not the system, but they are owning pieces of Bitcoin, entire Bitcoin, what have you. But it does nothing. It just simply does not get the public to understand exactly how much money there is to be made. On top of that as well, it says Litecoin's next price direction hinted at by crypto analysts. Litecoin is very close to, I do not know when, it is very close to its halving. And historically, this has been a very big moment for Litecoin. I'm not expecting fireworks. Litecoin is a legacy coin that will probably be around forever. You may not think so. Litecoin is a tried, tested and true coin. It's simply not a hype coin. Litecoin has a lot of applications on it. It does a lot of things. It has private transactions, you name it, the whole shebang. But other people tend to focus on more coins that have or are more constantly in the news every single day and will tell you that they have NFTs, ABCs, we have smart contracts, we have dumb contracts, you name it, they have all these different things. Litecoin kind of remains in the background, but it is still one of the largest used test nets for Bitcoin, and this is where a lot of its value actually comes in. Litecoin's resurgence. The silver to Bitcoin's digital gold makes a comeback. It's only because of the halving that we are currently near. Litecoin hits a 15-month high. Will it form a new all-time high at 500 after the halving? Yes and no. It's actually very difficult to say simply because Litecoin, once again, if the people from Litecoin, the Litecoin developers, made sure that this coin was in the news all the time, it would probably also then be considered a security. And I assume that the people from Litecoin know this, and this is why they made sure to stay in the background as a lot of this actually happens. Will Litecoin eventually get to $1,000, $2,000? Absolutely. If we have a crazy bull market and Bitcoin ends up going to $500,000 in 2025, sure, I can totally see it. If not, it'll probably take to the next halving for that to take place, but it is a slow and steady coin. It just happens to be getting a lot of attention right now because of the halving and because its price is moving up. I saw an article where the writer was perplexed. I mean, I think they must have just gotten into the cryptocurrency space. They could not mentally understand why Litecoin's price was moving up. And they mentioned that Solana and Tron should be moving up. And I was like, I know exactly who wrote this article. It's someone who doesn't know anything about the space and hype rules their world. So yeah, Litecoin is moving up. The excitement of the halving is there. I think Litecoin will probably be a coin that's around forever. I don't ever expect it to, at least not within the next decade, to hit $38,000, $50,000 per coin. But I think as like a coin that has a relatively predictable, stable price with it and movements, this is why I think a lot of people still hold onto their Litecoin. Also, this, I want to say that this should be in stupid news, but I'm going to try and be very, very nice here. Patrick L. Riley, CEO of Reaper Finance, that is a name, has hinted at an exciting development for XRP. He stated on Twitter that Arrington Capital, a digital asset management firm in blockchain-based capital markets, founded in 2017, has recently filed with the SEC for an XRP-based hedge fund. Here's the tweet for it right here. And then there's a photo of two rich people standing side by side. Arrington recently filed with the SEC for an XRP-based hedge fund. Seems there is an expectation for all to go well. So this is not a bubble burst. It's more of a read, and you'll get there. A lot of people began to get quite excited because I think that their minds read XRP ETF. This is a hedge fund. It is a fund that has to go through the US SEC in order to be approved, as you have to have certain customer protections for your hedge fund. The idea of a hedge fund, it is not like a mutual fund. It is a fund where people are constantly throwing in millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or collectively billions of dollars, and the fund has to be actively managed, usually by someone who has had skin in the game for a long time. They know how to move around the fund. And the excitement for a hedge fund usually is they make much larger returns than other funds. They are created in essence so that they're not simply making 7% a year. They're trying to make like 120% per year on people's monies. This is why a lot of times you'll hear this hedge fund manager got a $120 million bonus. It's because he figured out a way online, on the computer, through trading, through his AI, or through his group of people who are trading actively, to squeeze as much money from the market as possible. And they gave that back to their investors. And the investors simply came together and said, I gave him $1 million. He made me 2.7 million. Here's a huge chunk of change for, whatever, pat on the back, that kind of thing. The odds of this getting accepted are near 100%. You know exactly what you need for a hedge fund. The spiciness, I assume, comes from the fact that the word XRP is in there. I would assume that, as this is meant to be an XRP hedge fund, that the company would also be collecting physically XRP to work off of the fund, different than an ETF, but to base off of like is backed by the accumulation of their XRP that kind of shows how much money they could be making through the fund. So the news is exciting, and why I said stupid news, it's more of the amount of people who kept on conflating this to an ETF and were thinking that, also greatly, people kept on thinking that this would never go through because of the SEC lawsuit is like, it just gives me a light headache. Like people just don't. Anyway, so this was, of course, very, very popular news. They're trying for an XRP ETF. There's no time frame for this. I assume somewhere there's like numbers where, I don't know how long it takes to file for a hedge fund. My greatest fear is that when this is approved, it will do nothing to XRP's price, even if you hear that they are accumulating billions of XRP, because I think that people simply don't, I don't, you understand what I'm saying. Also, heavily in the news, what is going on? What's, is everyone okay? Does everyone need to take a break? Like, does everyone need like a good 2-3 weeks away from the market? Because I'm not really sure what's going on. The news floating around. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says XRP price prediction as rumors emerge of SEC Chairman Gary Gensler resigning. How will XRP react? I saw news that Gary Gensler had resigned. And I mean articles talking about Gary Gensler had resigned, stating that he had resigned abruptly after there was some kind of an investigation against him by the U.S., something other 3 letters into his acts, and therefore he picked up his stuff and he ran out of the office very quick. And then I began to see other articles saying that there are rumors currently that Gary Gensler is no longer in the office. He has left the SEC. He is officially resigning. Guess my surprise when I found out that this was from an AI generated article. There was an AI somewhere that someone used or was AIing itself, who knows, that created a news article that said that Gary Gensler had resigned based off of his previous workings at the SEC. He left disgraced and everyone completely lost their minds. Now imagine my surprise when finding out that this was completely fake. No one read any articles, and people had the price of XRP, I'll show you if we can actually get to the chart, moved up quite rapidly off of this news. If you look for news for it now, Gary Gensler even came out and was like, no, I'm not resigning. That was definitely AI-based news that came out. Is this where we are now? Is this the kind of market that we're in? Is this the, people keep making up fake news about the SEC? I don't understand why the market cares so much about the SEC. I understand the optimism of believing that Gary Gensler would be leaving or has left, and therefore everyone's like, maybe this gives a little bit more leg room for XRP. I get it. But buying immediately off of the fake news and then selling immediately after finding out that the news is fake, what's the point of you being in this market? What's the point of you having these coins if all you base your sentiment on is fake news that you're reading online? People sold off their Bitcoin based off of a rumor that was spreading on Twitter that said that the SEC had rejected the BlackRock ETFs. I can assure you less than 1% of those people read any articles. They saw a headline, they panicked and sold. allowing once again the rich people to accumulate all the Bitcoin. Do you know what kind of world we're going to live in if Bitcoin ever reaches 1 million, 10 million, $15 million in the next 15 to 20 years? People will sit there and remember, I sold off my Bitcoin because of nonsense. Have you ever seen, there were tons of videos, they're still around, of course, on the internet years ago, where a lot of cities, as they were being hyper developed, a lot of people within these cities were selling off their homes. I mean, $110,000, $85,000 for 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. Especially like if you look at, I used to watch a lot of this stuff as well. A lot of the stuff that was happening in New York, in San Francisco, and I think in Toronto. And they were showing people selling off brownstones in huge homes, especially in New York. I mean, $200,000. There was a story of one guy, I mean, evil genius, like literal evil genius. This guy apparently offered someone, I think, $250,000 for their brownstone. They moved out. I think it was like a 7-day closing. He gave them cash. They were gone. The next day, he put it onto the market for, I think, $1.3 million, and it sold for 1.2. The point of the story is, how many of you out there are panic selling your coins on a whim, on fake news, on something you heard from someone else? You will remember in the future how much crypto you had and how much you sold. And you will look at the news articles talking about the world's first trillionaire created from crypto, and you'll do calculations and you'll sit there and go, I could have made a huge amount of money. For those of you who missed that story from a long time ago, I don't think my friend is listening. If you are, dude, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. Years ago, I had a friend who bought, I mean, this is when Dogecoin just came out. It had no value. It was, I mean, you could pick up a grain of dirt and it was worth 10 times the amount of Dogecoin. He put a couple, it was like low hundreds or 1,000, like 1,000, not thousands with an S, into Dogecoin. And he was able to get roughly around like 100 million coins. This guy didn't have a lot of money. He put a huge amount of money. I mean, he had a huge amount of Dogecoin that he ended up getting from a small amount. He had over 100 million Dogecoin. At some point the next 2 or 3 years, the price wasn't moving. There was years ago, the cryptocurrency market would just not move. And he became so annoyed, so frustrated. He decided he was moving to another country. So he sold off all his coins, and that was enough. That was enough for him to, I think, buy a plane ticket and also like be able to get some food. It was something really weird. I remember when Dogecoin was around like 55 cents, not even at its all-time high. It was at 55 cents, and I hadn't spoken to this guy in years. He called me and panicked, and I mean like it was a rough panic. And I was like, what happened? What's going on? I haven't heard from you in years. He said, have you seen the price of Dogecoin? And I was like, yeah, what's up? What's going on? And then it clicked immediately in my head. He would have had $50 million if he simply had just stayed still. If he had kept that money on his computer. If he had found another way to get that plane ticket. The people being shaken out of this market right now, it's insane. It's absolutely abysmal. It's abysmal. How many people are being constantly terrified? People who've been in the market for years, who know how the market works, who know how the cryptocurrency exchanges work, who know exactly like what all this news is meant for. It's meant to get you out of the market so that the rich people can buy at a lower price. That's all it's for. And it's constantly there. And then so many people keep selling, trying to dollar cost average back in, or, you know, I'll wait till prices fall even more so I can get back in. Remember when that happened at $16,000 and $18,000 and Bitcoin was at $22,000? It's so insane. And I wrote on Twitter and I saw a couple people had a problem with it, but I saw some people also liked my post. It wasn't even there to get a like. It was literally like, I wrote something along the lines of, this is the most like unsophisticated, like impulsive market that I've ever seen in my entire life. It doesn't make any sense. Why does fear rule you? Like, if you're that afraid of the market, you have to leave. There's no point in you being in this market, listening to the news every day if you've sold off all your coins because you're too afraid to hold on to them. This is why I say, don't put money into the market that you can't afford to lose. Like, Y-O-U-O-N-L-Y, should be putting money into this market that means nothing to you. After all your bills have been paid, after you have, given money to your family if you're helping them out because these are hard economic times, after you have enough food in your fridge, your lights are still on, you've paid your water and your gas, you've paid your car note, your car bill for petrol. If you find out, you sit there and go, man, I really want a piece of cake. You know what? I'm going to use the extra money and I'm going to buy some crypto instead. That's the only money that should be going into this market after everything else has been paid. This lets me know that people are throwing money that they can't afford to lose into this market, and this is why they keep panicking. It's crazy what's happening. It is so obscene that you've been in this market for the last 2 to 3 years, have actively invested, fake news comes out, you sell off your position, and then in two years, you're going to be like, I could have had 10x what I currently have right now. I think it's nuts. I think it's absolutely insane. I think it is the craziest thing, and it has nothing to do with having diamond hands. You have to simply understand why you're in this market. What money you're putting into this market. I mentioned before on the other channel, this was a video from years ago. I was like, if you have extra stuff around your house that you are not using, sell it. If you have 5 TVs and 1 bedroom, sell your extra stuff that you don't need. It's not about minimalism. It's like getting extra money that you could then put into the market. If you're doing nothing, whatever. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion in and of itself. But I worry about so many people in this market. Like, everyone is just completely out of their minds right now. I don't know what's going on. And then the worst part is 90% of these people are going to be rushing back into the market when Bitcoin's at 45,000, trying to get as much as they can. Weird times that we're currently in. Gary Gensler not resigning. Resignation, fake news. Continuing on. Also constantly in the news, and I kind of want to start like a GoFundMe or something where I just accumulate tons of money and like I donate books to people. Because I feel like if people aren't reading on the internet, maybe they'll read something physical in their hand that they actually have to turn a page for. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says BRICS nations unleash a game-changing plan to challenge US dollar hegemony. I'm not sure what this weird obsession is right now with the massive amount of people in the cryptocurrency space who are nearly at this point begging, wishing, and hoping that the US dollar loses its significance and that the BRICS nations take over. When I say read, look into the history of the countries who are trying to destroy, push aside, or challenge the US dollar. Have you ever heard the phrase, better the devil you know? For those of you who've never heard it, it basically means we understand what the current system is. And you listening to this right now, you have benefited. You may not realize it. You have benefited your entire life from the strength of the US dollar. Because of the US dollar being this strong, you are able to hold the device in your hand that you own. You think I'm joking? It extends to the euro. It extends to the yen. It extends everywhere. It is the strength of the US dollar. Do I think we should have a currency like the US dollar? Absolutely not, because it is one of the most toxic things that we've ever had, and it has destroyed a number of other economies. However, if you, I mean, in the nicest way, I'm trying to be extremely nice because Typically, when I talk about situations like this without a microphone or a camera in front of me, I'll simply let you have it. The idea that these countries are trying to create their own currency isn't for Bitcoin's price to go up. This is what I think a lot of people are confusing. The general idea is people believe that if these countries come together like Captain Terrible Planet and create a new currency that will displace the US dollar, that Bitcoin's price will rise and benefit as people go, man, the US dollar's collapsing. You don't understand what it would mean for us to fall under the leadership, the rule, the power of these other nations. I implore you, do research all the time on everything. The nicest way of saying it is that this is not the first time that this has happened. We've gone over this before. You might remember this. A number of nations have been trying since the 1950s to band together to create a new currency. This one, for some reason, has captured the minds and the attention of people within the cryptocurrency space who don't understand that. I'm trying to find a very nice way to say this. What you have will be gone and will be replaced, and you will not live the same life that you are currently living right now. You do not understand what it means for the US dollar to collapse. I mentioned hundreds of other times, when you talk about Bitcoin going to $1 million per coin, it means that the US dollar is literally on its last legs, and the only people who are benefiting are the holders of crypto. Now imagine how the other 7.8 billion people on the planet would feel if that were to happen. You always have to expand your view. When you talk about last year, the cryptocurrency market was moving along with stocks. Look at the macro. Look at everything that's happening. Whatever they're creating, whatever these BRICS nations are trying to put together is not going to work. You underestimate and do not know the strength of the US dollar. You do not understand exactly at all. If you are rooting for this in any type of way, you do not understand exactly how strong the US dollar is. I'm going to say the word stupefully. It's not a word, but this is exactly on point. I assumed at some point that equality would literally reign supreme and we'd live on a better planet, but I know that's not going to be the case. The way that things are shaping up right now, it looks like crypto has a very strong chance at being like a part of the financial world, the fiscal world, and or being a large part of transactions, monetary transactions flowing through the world. So that's basically all I can hope for at this point, is that people who listen to this channel and other people around the world understand that that's like the piece of their pie. Look into the countries who you're rooting for to displace the US dollar. I am constantly shocked at the way that people in this, I think so many people within the cryptocurrency space are special. I think they've entered into a market that they think can not only make them rich, but like wealthy, but you don't understand what wealth actually entails when there's a finite amount of something. So anyway, this was also incredibly popular news. It was all over the place. Everyone was talking about it. If you type in anything like BRICS currency, BRICS nation, crypto, you will find an avalanche of news, and it's usually very positive because these people have no idea what they're talking about. And it is a constant struggle for me being in the cryptocurrency space and going over the news every day and seeing this news popping up. I've also been seeing a troubling new trend where a lot of cryptocurrency news websites are talking about the Chinese digital currency and how it benefits the public, and how now their train stations in Shanghai are using it. And I'm like, they're being forced to do so. They're not choosing to do this. This is mandated by the government. They are being forced to use a digital currency. This is not them. I don't understand what world we're living in. And a lot of people don't get that you are only where you are and you only have the amount of money that you do because of the current system that you have lived in your entire life. That's the BRICS nations news. I told you the video was going to get a little weird. Also, in the most unshocking thing in the entire world, which I saw a lot of people arguing about, nice word, on the interwebs, it says SEC shocker. The token or the coin known as Dash has been classified as a security. The news that I read going around was that a lot of people were quite annoyed that a coin that they had been purchasing since roughly around 2014, 2015, when Dash was popularer, is now classified as a security. This coin, for those of you who don't know Dash was like one of the most popular coins. It was touted as like the private transaction Bitcoin for a number of years. And then we had Monero and we had Zcash. But Dash was like the poster child for private transactions before the idea of Mimblewimble or anything else like that had actually popped up. And the fact now that this coin is, air quotes, in trouble with the SEC for being a security, sure. People were talking about this isn't fair. I'm like, have you not paid attention to what the SEC has been doing over the last years? Nothing they've done has actually seemed right or fair. So anyway, this is and was quite very, very popular news. No one, and I say this in the nicest way. If you were expecting a return from Dash, I'm shrugging. You can't see my shoulders. My shoulders have shrugged upwards. This is a coin that governments have been talking negatively about since 2017. Dash, Monero, and Zcash, they have private transactions. You know who doesn't like private transactions? Governments. You know, them classifying it as a security is just another way of them trying to like get it under their control. This is why these coins have dropped out of the top 50 and top 100 because no one's using them. They have very low transactional value and volume. People are, of course, still using these coins as they go about their daily lives, and they want private transactions in whatever activity they might be going about in their own lives. But yeah, very popular news. A lot of people are talking about it, and I didn't explicitly understand why this was a big thing. That's the SEC has allegedly classified Dash as a security. If any of you are trying to make money, you don't own Dash or Monero or Zcash. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Jimmy Jim, American Crypto Academy, Bodie McBoatface, Sam Ratter, Dotha Diddy, Manny Cryptos, Crypto Gambino, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Jamie Saad. And let's move on. Empire Queen, Roman Geba, Bitcoin Ben, Arachno Dave, The Dealer's Den, Captain Something and the Z-Way Lay, Mobarazi, VB Nerd 21, Lauren De Silva, Quoted Biddy, Troy Allgood, Space Case, Nita Miracle, Paternoster, Navarro Williams, Utopia 569, Moonman High, XRP, Nostromo, John Sarson, The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Adam Graysick, Wise Knight Owl, 242 to the World, Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Cold E3D, Setsuna, Paxis, Jim Gardner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Yes to Crypto, Anytime Fitness, Mong's Corner Staff, Bake Me a Cake, Tigara Macho Nisa, and On Crypto with Lionel. Thank you all very, very much for being patrons. Thank you to everyone who has left a like, who has left a comment, or who has subscribed. I do sincerely hope that you are having a good day, that you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.